Let's get acquainted. The only reason I'm a researcher is in my third near-death experience, I reached that level where the voice like none other spoke to me. Wasn't an angel, wasn't a guide or a guardian. And its voice was so big and so huge, it was like the universe itself. And it spoke, and I call it the voice like none other, but my sense was it was of God, and it said, test revelation. You are to do the research. One book for each death. And they were specific books. You know, most of us forget that near-death experiences come from violence or trauma, so you've got a body to rebuild afterward. I had to relearn how to crawl, how to stand, how to walk, how to climb stairs, how to run, how to tell the difference between left and right, how to see properly, hear properly, and rebuild all my belief systems. So that first year, you're dealing with the body that you have to rebuild, day and night exercises, and that voice, and all the other things that happened in my various near-death experiences. 3 and 3 months, by the way. So I came back to do the research and never heard of Raymond Moody, never heard of Life After Life. I'm the only one in the field that we know of that went out and did her own near-death research, having never heard of near-death research. So, you know, I'm out there with hundreds and maybe over 1,000 people, and I'm doing my research, never having heard of IANDS or Raymond Moody or Ken Ring or anybody else. Never heard of him. And I'd been out there for several years. And it was Ken Ring who discovered me and said, my God, he said, you're ahead of the rest of us. Come on board. I said, what do you mean on board? There's a board? So that's when I started. And many people regard me as the scrappy one. Well, it's because I come from Idaho. You know, I'm a Western woman. What do you expect? And over the years, let me correct something over the years. I've been saying I'm going to retire, this is my last book. Let me assure you, God has a sense of humor. He's laughing all the way. And when I want to take up watercolor, that voice is saying, here's another one. And I'm going, you're kidding. And that was 15 books ago. You know, so this is where I'm coming from. Also, I want you to know that I'm a cop's kid. I was raised in a police station. My dad started teaching me police investigative techniques at the age of 9. So I grew up understanding police investigative techniques. And Dad always said, the body says more than the mouth does. So I'm watching your body. I'm watching your eyes. I'm watching what you do with your hips and your legs and your fanny and your knees. I'm watching that very closely. Because that's telling me a lot. And this is one of the reasons why I do not use scientific protocol, because it's biased language. You're using language before the fact. You can't do that if you're a good cop. Everything has to be open-ended. Can't have biased language. You don't dig deep enough, and there's no verifying. The verifying I'm talking about is whenever I could, I would get in the families and the houses and the kids and the neighbors and the health caregivers and say, what did you see? What do you feel about this individual? So I'm going back and forth. You know, what's the inner play and what's the outer play? How is this coming across? What is going on really? That's where my work comes from. So now that you know a little bit about me, you know a little bit about where my work comes from, let me say that there has never been a near-death experiencer yet that I know of who knew in the first 7 years how much they have changed. Your family knows, your kids know, your neighbor knows, but you don't know. You know a lot of things, and you're feeling, really great maybe, or maybe conflicted, but you really don't know how much you have changed. Believe me, you have changed a great deal. It's almost as if you've come back another person. It takes the average adult 7 to 10 years to integrate their experience. It takes the average child 20 to 40 years to integrate their experience. Kids don't realize at all. The job of a child is to grow up, to learn, to observe, to fit into this world. What if it's a kid that had a near-death experience, let's say at the age of 2 or 3? What I'm finding in most of those cases is they're bonding to the other side, not this side. So they're not really fitting into the family because their family is over there. And it can cause some real confusion. Before I go any further, if there's anybody here who had a near-death experience between womb and the age of 5, in September, I'm starting another research program. If you fit, I want your case. Get on my website, www.pmhatwater.com. On the home page is the call for volunteers. Download it. It's a one-pager. It is not a quiz. It is designed to help you go back and remember and expand and connect and describe. I don't care how many pages you give me. Just sort of fill in the blanks. Because in September, I start the new round of research. And I want as many cases as possible because I've seen that there's something else going on with the little ones that's not going on with the rest of us. And I want to zero in and find out what that is. So help me out. Okay, so we're talking about integrating. We're talking about the after effects. Let me paint pictures here. The first thing that I recommend, if you've had a near-death experience, if you can't do it the first thing, then as soon as possible, relearn language. Relearn how to think. Relearn how to speak. That is so unbelievably important. It's going to save you and your family and your loved ones a lot of grief if you can relearn language, relearn words, relearn how to speak. Among the places that you might turn is Science of Mind. This is the Science of Mind Digest. It's a lovely little magazine. I subscribe to it. It comes from the Centers of Spiritual Living, i.e., Ernest Holmes' Science of Mind. You can also get involved with Unity. These are metaphysical organizations, metaphysical churches. but especially the science of mind root will teach you how to think, speak, and teach you about words. I took Science of Mind 1 class. It's one of the first things I did in the process of getting well. Whoa, what a difference that made. So I'm really recommending that. Okay, let's talk about the after effects. Did you know that many near-death experiencers have interesting situations going on where it comes to breathing? Breathing afterward. Maybe the breathing just stops. It'll just stop. Maybe you won't breathe for maybe 5 minutes. And you don't notice it. Yeah, it didn't make any kind of difference. For myself, this continued on for a year after I died. I would just simply stop breathing. This one time I timed it. That was when I could actually wear a watch. I was timing it. That didn't last but very long anyway. It was 7 minutes. I was in Boise, Idaho. I was on Vista Boulevard. I was going down the bench toward the Capitol building. I went through the various stoplights, turned around the Capitol building, headed toward Floating Feather Airport. And it occurred to me, you know, the brain really does need oxygen. Maybe I better do something about this. So I pulled my car over to the side of the road and stopped it and had a meditation, that is to say, my intelligence, the me that I am, went into my lungs and helped to puff them up and apologize and do everything I could to energize them to work again. And when I finally got them working again, then my consciousness went up to the regular level and I continued driving and working. That continued for, again, a year afterward. Most people don't go that long, but a lot of near-death experiencers, maybe several minutes, maybe 5 minutes, and they'll notice they're not breathing and it's no big deal. They don't need the air. That's an interesting after effect most of you don't hear about. Sleeping. Most of us wake up about 3 a.m. in the morning. Does that kind of ring any bells to anybody in the audience, that you're waking up right around 3, maybe 2, maybe 3, maybe 4, but usually 3 in the morning? Well, let me share with you some of the things that happen around 3 in the morning. That's when the melatonin levels peak in the pineal gland. It's when the deeper function of the pineal peaks in the production of DMT, the spirit molecule. That's when the Schumann waves, which is the base frequency of the earth, it's called the Earth's heartbeat. That's when it peaks around 3 a.m. in the morning. That's when most crop circles across the world form, is around 3 a.m. in the morning. Medically, that is called the hour of the wolf. That's when most people die of congestive heart failure or die for any other reason or having all kinds of chronic conditions that peak. They're peaking at 3 a.m., the hour of the wolf. It's also called the hour of the muse. And that's when most people are visited by their angels or their spirit beings, or they become very creative. That's when most of the great symphonies are written, around 3 a.m. in the morning, the hour of the muse. And of course, 4 a.m. is the first prayer of the day for our Muslim brothers and sisters. it's like we're just sort of sinking in with the earth. It's like we're becoming more one with the earth and nature. A lot of the after effects of near-death states are when we do indeed become one with natural rhythms. That's why we're having so many challenges on the job, so many challenges with the families. Because maybe we had a stiffer or more superficial or more of a pushed existence, more of a insistent kind of lifestyle. And after the near-death experience, you kind of slow down a little bit, or you find yourself wanting to be more in nature, or wanting more prayer life, or at least wanting more silence. And you find yourself, whether you realize it or not, sinking in and moving toward the natural rhythms of the earth. And so it's helping us get back to what we once were as human beings. The after effects. If you weren't psychic before, you become psychic after. If you were psychic before, you become very psychic after. You become very innovative, very creative. You're hearing voices maybe, or things are, well, you have time shifts and dimensional shifts, many of us do. Let's just talk for a little bit about that. Let's talk about a dimensional shift first. Had one of those just last month. I was coming back from the Monroe Institute. Yes, I do teach there about 3 or 4 times a year. If you take the Lifeline class at Monroe, you'll get me. Or if you take Scott Taylor's near-death experiences class, you get me. And it was late at night. It's 10:30 at night. I had a witness. There's somebody else in the car with me for once. Her name is Ella. It's 10:30 at night. We're following a Dale Drive, and we're getting to Route 6. It's a highway. It's going to take me to Route 29. Takes me home. It's a 45-minute trip. You got it? So I'm traveling a paved road. I'm turning right. I'm going to get on Route 6. It is a highway. Even if I missed and turned left, it's still a highway. It's a paved, marked highway. Got it? And it's going to take me to an even larger highway. So I turned right, as I always do. And I'm somewhere else. I'm on a kind of a dirty road. No markings. No signs. No homes. Nothing. We're traveling along, and I say to Ella, something has happened. We're not on the road. We're not on Route 6. Took me 2 hours to get out of there. Finally dumped me on Route 151. And I'd never heard of Route 151 before, but finally was able to get back to where it took me 2 hours to get out of there. I had inadvertently turned into another dimension that wasn't part of the dimension I had left. This kind of shift happens every once in a while to near-death experiencers, and they think they're going crazy. I'm here to tell you, you're not going crazy. Time shifts are fun. You can create them. Remember, there's no such thing as time. We've already been in the timeless world. We bring back that knowledge and that knowing. So if I'm in a real pinch for time, and I want to go a long way. The way I do it is I get in my car and I become one with the car. The car and I are one. We get on the road and I become with the road. The road and the car are one. We are the same thing. We are the same life form. And I zero in with light to where I want to be. 25 minutes away. I'm there in 6 minutes. Do you see? Once you're in that loop, there is no time. I've actually been able to make that 25-minute trip in 4 minutes. You're in that time. I've done this many times. I know the rest of you are doing it too, because I hear from you. When I'm cooking, I ask the food what it wants to do, and we both have fun. Absolutely. My dear husband never knows what he's going to eat when he comes home for supper. Never knows. It gets complicated in families. It gets complicated at work. It gets complicated in daily life because of love. You know, we talk about unconditional love, 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 love. Everybody talks about love. The whole thing is about love. Let me teach you a little bit about love. Unconditional love is love without an object. The average near-death experiencer comes back, and every woman you see is your sister, your mother, your daughter, and your aunt. Every man that you see is your husband, your father, your uncle, and your son. It's not that you can't tell the differences. You know differences. But you love them the same, or nearly the same. And you just can't stop that flow of love. Does your family understand? No. I caught on to this with my oldest daughter. Her name is Natalie. We call her the volcano. She never enters a room, she explodes into a room. Natalie the volcano. Remember, we're Westerners, so my kids talk like a typical Westerner. She got me in the kitchen one day and pointed her finger at me, hands on the hips, and she said, "Well, you're friendlier now than you used to be. And I like talking to you. But you're not Mom, and I want Mom back." Well, we looked for that woman for years, never did find her. I don't know where she went. She's gone. Poof. Bear in mind that children, if you have children, if you're an older adult and you have children, or you're an adult, you have children, children want to feel privy. They want to feel exclusive. That's necessary in the growing up process. They need to know that they are special to you. They don't want to know that everybody in the whole block is special to you. Natalie was jealous. She was outright jealous. My son, when he got married, he was so excited. The woman of his dreams. And he was just effusive. Well, I thought it was kind of neat. She was a wonderful woman. He's a wonderful son. And everybody else is wonderful. And, it was just wonderful. But I couldn't be effusive. I couldn't be that proud mother. because I was proud of everybody. So I learned to play act. And I give this and I recommend this to all the rest of you. If you learn to act like they are expecting you to act, that helps them, takes the pressure off. It helps you in your understanding, your learning of language and how to use language, how to use body language, you know, how you're using your hands, your arms, your hips, your face. It's helping you to sort of fit back in without ever really being there. It's wonderful to sort of, you know, play act a little bit. But where it really gets complicated is husband and wife, or long-term partners, if you haven't married yet, but especially husband and wife. Our divorce rate of near-death experiencers is almost 80% within the first 8 to 10 years after the experience, many times within the first 5 years after the experience. Why? Your loved one wants back the one they lost. They don't want back some remodeled, rewired version of who you are. They want back who you are. Well, you're different. You can't be that person you once were before. You're not that person. And that gets really complicated. Let me give you an example. This is a man in Southern California. He was a real estate agent. He was very successful. Second wife, had a couple of kids. He was in his early 50s. And I was spending some time with him. And he was just effusive, as we all are, as we have been this week so far. Everybody talking like this and saying, oh, I love my wife more than I ever thought I could ever love. I love my kids more than I ever thought I could love them. I love the broker. I love my clients. I love everybody I'm working with. I just love everybody. Heard from the same man a year later. He said, I don't understand this. My wife doesn't want anything to do with me. My kids won't be in the same room with me. My boss turns his back on me, and I'm driving my customers away. He says, I don't understand what's going on here. So he left. He walked out the door and left his family. I don't know what happened to that man. I know he didn't go back to his family. He went to drift for a while to find out what the conundrum is. What's the puzzle? I'm so full of love. But they don't feel it. I'm driving them away. I learned in the process of being with so many, many people, we've got to step down the energy a little bit. Step it down a little bit. You're too powerful. One guy, his wife divorced him. She accused him of flirting with everybody all the time. He wasn't flirting. He was just loving them. They were so wonderful in his world. He just went up and told them how wonderful they were. But his wife thought that was flirting. So you get a little sense here of the differences in perception. The near-death experiencer is very open. The family is puzzled. I've spent a lot of time with puzzled families. They think the guy needs drugs. They think he needs a psychiatrist. He thinks, this is a beautiful world and I'm glad I'm here. You see, are you getting a sense of differences here? We can have some real tragedies here, and we do, because of the differences. And this is why IANDS, myself, IANDS, everybody else is recommending that the experiencer sit down, if they possibly can, and talk to the family, tell the family their experience. We're really recommending it. We used to have special places where you could go at our various conferences where the experiencer could sit down. We'd invite the family to come. Mom, dad, and the kids, whoever. And get used to being around us kind of folk and being able to hear then what the experiencer went through without judgment, without bias. Just listen. And many times the family is changed too, if they'll do that. And that's when we avert these tragedies. I've spent a lot of time with children of adult experiencers, especially when the children grew up. And what I learned from the children is 50-50. What I mean by that is 50% of their time growing up in that household was pretty good. The parent was now more open, more loving. They had visited other worlds. They were less restrictive. They could talk to the parent better. But the other 50% was desperately lonely. They couldn't connect on an emotional level, on a deep level, with mom or dad. That part was empty. And they grew up with that emptiness. That, they just couldn't get through to mom or dad. Mom or dad were still happy in this wonderful place, and they really weren't seeing the child who was puzzled and was alone. So, we've got several faces here for the after effects. What's it like to get phone calls and nobody else hears the phone? And you hear the phone and you pick it up and you start talking to someone on the phone, but nobody else in the same room with you heard the phone. And it's a weird call. It's an invisible call, maybe a call from the spirit world. And synchronicity. And all of these things are happening as if in a flow, as if life flows. Same time, same way, always synchronicity. Just this morning, a fellow by the name of Scott wanted a photograph with me. So we got another fellow by the name of Scott who took the picture. He was just there, the two Scotts together. It happens all the time. Synchronicity is part and parcel of a near-death experience. Your mind is not just flowing, your life is flowing. And you find things happening. And, you just had no sense that this could ever happen. Things are popping up. Things are coming in the mail. People are knocking on your door. Or you're out, maybe shopping. And you look at someone and suddenly you know all about them. And you know all about what's going to happen to them. Or what has just happened to them. And you think you're crazy, but you're normal. I'm here to tell you that's normal. I'm here to tell you it's every day. I'm here to tell you psychic ability. Let's strike the word. Let's get rid of that word. Psychic abilities don't mean anything. Let's get rid of that word. What we call psychic is the natural expansion and acceleration of faculties normal to you. That's all they are. They are the expansion and acceleration of abilities normal to you. There's no such thing as psychic abilities. All that's happening afterward are the normal routes of perception that you were born with, you live with, you've studied. After a near-death experience, they expand. It's normal to be like picking up information from a disincarnate. Forget about mediumship. This is normal. If you want to be a medium, go to school and learn the rigors and learn maybe more of the traits, but the skill itself is natural to you because it's part of your survival mechanism as a human being. You're not crazy. It's not psychic. You're a human. And after a near-death experience, believe it or not, you become more human. You become more whole. It's not a matter of becoming spiritual. It's becoming whole. Wholeness includes the spiritual, and it includes everything else. It all lifts together. And you become more whole afterward. And that is so confusing to people in the 21st century. Yeah. But it's normal. A signature feature of the near-death experience is you become more intelligent afterward. That's a signature feature. Most of us. It is the average time without vital signs. No breath, no brain waves, no heartbeat. Average, 5 to 20 minutes. That's average. Not a couple of minutes, 5 to 20. That's average. We know that the brain needs oxygen within about 3 to 4 minutes, maybe 5 minutes, or you have brain damage. Some near-death experiencers come back with a little bit of brain damage. I've seen it. Most of them come back with brain enhancement. No matter how long they were corpses, And I'm including 24 hours, maybe 32 hours. And yes, I came across a number of those. And I talk about it in my books. It came back, you come back smarter than you were before. And with kids, the leap is just incredible. In my first study, and I don't have the book here, but it's the New Children and Near-Death Experiences. You want to know about kids, you want to get that book. The children in that study for me was from birth to the age of 15. But most of the younger most of them were younger. Most of my cases were 8 and below, and I had a preponderance of cases from 5 below. And I want to say right now, if you get the book, The New Children and Near-Death Experiences, the frontispiece was written by John Leona. He had his near-death experience inside his mother's vagina as he was being born. Never forgot it. Drew a picture of it in the book. Let me give you a little bit with the kids. 1/3 of that 277, about 1/3. Well, first of all, 1/2 could remember their birth. Half of them could remember their birth. In those cases where I could be with the mom or the dad or an aunt, someone in the family, but especially the mom, and I'd have the kids talk about, or when they're older, talk about what they saw, what they knew, what they felt. I never found an error. The moms always said that's exactly what happened. Let me give you this one case. I was with the mom and the daughter. The mom had like 3 or 4 kids. They couldn't afford another child, and so she thought about aborting the baby. They simply could not afford another mouth to feed. And she thought about getting an abortion, and it was a big thing for her, but she couldn't go through with it. And she birthed the baby. It was a little girl. When that child was old enough with language that she could speak fairly fluent language, she went up to her mother and kept pulling on her skirt and saying to the mom, "Why did you try to kill me when I was in your tummy?" And the mother was still guilty. And so I had a long session with the mom and the daughter. The daughter, while in the womb, heard her mother and knew what the mother wanted to do. And so the daughter, when born, couldn't forgive her mother. It took years and years and years and years before I finally got the two of them to talking to each other and forgiving each other. You're going to face this a lot. I'm not the only researcher saying this. If you're around near-death experiencers, you're going to be around missing twins. You're going to be around aborted babies that come back. You're going to be around all this kind of spooky stuff that we don't normally like to talk about. But it's right there, it's right on the line. So I'm talking about intelligence, I'm talking about with children. And the jump is even higher. In my research base of 277, 48% were scoring. 48% were scoring between 150 to 160 when they were finally able, to take the standard IQ tests. There were a few of them that you could trace it back to maybe in the family, maybe DNA, but all of the rest of them you could not. And that intelligence began after the near-death experience, not before. And we get this, Edgar Cayce, the famous psychic. He didn't have any of his abilities till after he drowned at the age of 5. Got them all afterward. So we're getting this big jump in intelligence afterward. Folks, that big jump from 3 to 5-year-olds was 81%. That big jump from birth to the age of 15 months, 96%. And some of them are scoring in the 200s. If they had a dark light experience instead of a bright light experience, it was 100%, and the scores began at 180. We've got something going on here that's really, really big. So I'm talking about lights. And you hear it a lot from kids, but you hear it from adults too. There are 3. There's that primary light that is so powerful. It doesn't have any special color. It's just radiant and powerful and piercing. And then you have the dark light. Very few of these are negative. The dark light is warm and cuddly and healing. And there's something wise and wonderful about the dark light. And then there's the white light or the bright light. We all know about the white light. The white light knows your name and knows all about you. You can't, fudge with this light. This light is very loving. But the kids, I love kids, they're very specific. They say, well, the dark light, that's the mother light. That black light with maybe some violet in it or purple, that's mother light. That bright or white light, that's father light. But, say the kids, the father light and the mother light, they come from God's light. That light with no color that's so piercing and so powerful. The best thing, you've already heard it, that a near-death experiencer can do is spend a lot of time in silence. As much as you can, spend time in silence. I don't care if you're contemplating. I don't care if you're praying. I don't care if you're meditating. I don't care if you're just looking at a rock. Spend time in silence. Especially if you can be out in nature, especially if you can be in a forest or a desert or near a river. Spend time in silence. It'll help you to understand what's going on inside of you and with you better than any counselor or any therapist ever could. And give yourself the gift of being different and knowing that it's okay. Give yourself the gift of flowing and knowing that that's okay. You don't have to be pinpoint accurate and punctual. Flow. It's okay. I talk to the food blender. And I love talking to food blenders. I talk to my wall. I talk to my house and it talks back. I talk to my plants, they talk back to me. Allow yourself to be who you are. You are wonderful. And the more you accept that, the more wonderful you become. And then your family finally will accept you. Mine did. I want to make an announcement. I want to make two of them. First of all, remember I said I'm going to start working on the little bitty ones come September? So that's, maybe a little more than a month away. I'm going after anyone who had a near-death experience or something like it between womb and the age of 5. If you fit, get on my website, again, www.pmhatwater.com. Right there on the home page is the call for volunteers. Download it. And it's not a quiz, just tell me about your life as much as you can. Tell me about your memories as much as you can. I'm looking at the near-death experience as a lived experience from the view of a child experiencer. Believe me, that's different. It's not like an older child. It's not like an adult. They're different. The other announcement I want to make is, remember I said, I think I said, in my third near-death experience, not only was I told to do the research, I was told to write 3 specific books. The first one was not named. I think that was Coming Back to Life, but it was not named. The second one was Future Memory. That was named. The voice like none other told me how to write it. Every sentence, every paragraph, every page in that book is part of the math I used to create the labyrinth. Future Memory is a labyrinth. The purpose of that book, if you read it straight through, like you walk straight through a labyrinth, is to raise your consciousness up to the next highest octave possible for you. The book is a brain changer. It's a living book. The third specific book I was to write was the first book I wrote. I wrote it back in the late 70s, early 80s, I don't remember. Sent it out for peer review, and I got the same answer from everybody. The world isn't ready yet for this book. Put it in a box. Well, I did. I put it in a very, really big box. And there it remained till last year. And a good friend of mine, Bob Van de Castle, died. He was one of the world's leading researchers on dreams. He wrote Our Dreaming Mind. Bob knew about the book in the box. And, I went early to his funeral service, his memorial service, and I'm sitting out in my car, and Bob manifested in my car with me, and he started laughing. He says, "I knew you'd come." And then inside during the service, and by the way, we often see disincarnates. Yeah, that's part of the process. Especially the young ones. They're going to see disincarnates. Get used to it. Okay. It's normal. So during the service, there's this big photograph of Bob. He comes out of the photograph, comes to me about here, and looks at me right in the eye, and he says, "It is time." Bob knew about the book in the box. So I went right home, opened the box. Can you imagine what the air is like? A sealed box for 38 years. About killed me. Had to fumigate the house. It was awful. But I waded through it. The 28 thought form drawings were still there. They're still good. The pattern, the way it's supposed to be written, how it's supposed to come together, what's supposed to be in it, was all there. So for 2 years, I've been doing the weaving that was necessary to produce the third book. The one the voice like none other wanted. The name of the book is A Manual for Developing Humans. There are no chapters. It is parts and sections. It is based on the number 3. It came in my third near-death experience. It's the third book. The whole book is based on the number 3. My sense of this, having done it and completed it, is that it is a source book of basics. One book that you can go to for the basics on everything and how to be a human being. It's all there. You name it, it's there. All of the basics, including how life as we know it as human beings entered the earth plane for the first time, and the era that entry came. Everything that you want to know is there, all capsuled, all the basics are in that one book. I finished it last week. It goes to the editor on Monday, which is tomorrow. Hopefully it'll be out in maybe January, February. If you want to keep up on what's happening to the manual, get on my website, subscribe to my free monthly newsletter, whatever. I want you to know that for the first time, I've got a minute left, for the first time, I'm free. I'm free of that job God gave me. We're talking about missions. Most of us get a mission, a job to do. That was my job. I've just been doing it for 38 years. I've been busting my butt for 38 years. I'm free. Sometimes, folks, there just aren't words.